and credit to we have made a habit of saying this, and I think it is fair to say, that the only Democratic Party adjacent nonprofit content creator that is out there is More Perfect Union. And they do really good work.
Yes, they do.
And so they went into a place that Jen knows very well, Indianapolis, Indiana. And it does seem that one of the great crises that we're dealing with right now in terms of environmental devastation are these massive, it's not just AI, but data centers in general. This is a real problem. Yeah. And if you live anywhere near them, you would understand the catastrophe that this is causing now. And so here's what just happened. It's a good story, but it's a reminder that this is just the beginning and it's going to get so much worse.
To announce our intention to withdraw this proposal.
Good riddance.
I'm in Indianapolis, where Google just pulled down their petition to build an AI data center, preventing the city council from voting on whether to advance the project.
We beat Google. For a long time, it felt like we were four people with cardboard swords fighting a monster. But tonight, it shows that people power still reigns.
This was do or die. We came prepared to fight with everything we have against this data center, because if they voted it out, that was it.
It feels like I'm not going to have my livelihood destroyed. We farm 3 acres, so if there's no water or water contamination, I don't have a business.
Get the
What's the matter, Jen?
There's something flying around me.
Well, it can't be any worse than that.
I have a real problem with all of these things, with all these data centers. And I would like to have on someone who really understands I mean, I need to know why there's so many more cropping up in terms of more people, in terms of, is it for more complex AI? And if so, I mean, what does that entail? Like, so if I do search on Google, what does that use versus what a chat GPT uses or what any of these things use? And I feel like we need to know what that is. We need to know what that is. But something is very awry when whole towns have migraines, where whole towns are complaining of migraines from this humming or buzzing or whatever the hell it is. And yeah, I mean, the water is a whole other issue, but just talking specifically about the direct effect on people's health, this is a significant problem.
You know, I talked to a guy who I really like. He's a good friend. He lives in South Florida. He is Black. And he kind of consults with me privately about politics because he's trying to have a better understanding about how a lot of this stuff works. And he says, is this a Black problem? And I said, no, actually, it's a poor problem. It just so happens that the largest portion of demographic in the United States that is poor in terms of percentage happens to be Black. And so Indianapolis was able to fight this off, but a city that is only a few hundred miles away to the south was not able to fight it off. And that, of course, is Memphis. And Memphis is a very Black city, and they are having a problem when it comes to these data centers and the headaches that are developing in parts of West Memphis. So is it surprising? No. If you are poor, good luck. Because what is kind of a common theme here with a lot of the people that you're seeing at this event? It's not just that they're white, it's that they are active, they have probably money, and they're able to fight back. Indianapolis is not a poor city. Memphis is. So there is a difference. And they're going to go where they're going to go. East Palestine, Flint.
Yes, where vulnerable people are. Yes, that's where they get away with it, where there's low tax base and people have no power politically or otherwise. That's what they do. That's what they do. So, Rachel, remind me, Erin Brockovich. We need to invite Erin to come on. This is
trying to get her on. I've got her cell and her email.
Yeah, I know.
That. So
she's speaking at Flagler College. She's speaking at Graham School like next month. So I think.
Residents remain cautiously optimistic, but it's clear that the fight is far from over. This is the same tactic that a secretive tech company used in St. Charles, Missouri, which pulled down their application in the hopes of returning to the community when opposition fades away.
I don't trust Google for 1 second. We've been
Nor
told
should you.
before that if they withdraw on their own, then they can come back in 3 months.
Now we got, again, big tech coming in saying this is a perfect place for data centers, but they forgot to ask Hoosiers. And Hoosiers is saying no. All my Hoosiers, I love you all. Keep fighting.
Okay. What's a Hoosier?
A person who lives in Indiana?
Exactly. How ridiculous. I love that. This was something that drove me crazy. And for people who don't know, I lived in Indianapolis for a while, like 4 or 5 years. And so it would make me insane because I'd ask people from there and be like, what's a Hoosier? Somebody from Indiana. And none of them know anything other than that. But it's just so funny to me that it's not anything else. Because normally a mascot or a thing, it's like, I don't know. It's very strange. Anywho, I actually think it was a person's name.
Maybe.
That, like from a long time ago. Like we have Flagler here.
Well, Indiana in general is just a state that is really known. I mean, it's Larry Bird state. So it's a
I met Larry Bird and at Ruth's Chris one night in Indianapolis, and he was such a nice guy. But the whole thing in Indiana is that a Hoosier is someone from Indiana. None of them know really what it is, which is kind of odd, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's not like Buckeyes. At least you know what a Buckeye is. It's a really good cookie.
I met Ruth Riley, who was a great WNBA player from back in the day. In fact, I met her right before she played for the Detroit Shock and ended up winning the WNBA championship and the MVP back in, I think it was like 2003. And she's from Indiana. She went to Notre Dame. You know, it's religion. Like in Indiana, you're a Hoosier. You're at least some type of a basketball fan.
Yeah, try criticizing Bobby Knight anywhere in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, won't go over very well.
This is yet another rejection of big tech secretly inserting themselves into a community, threatening its water supply and electricity costs. Well, this story isn't over. Indianapolis residents halted Google's plans, and that alone is worth celebrating.
My 6 years on the council, I've never seen all the rooms filled to the max with people waiting in the lobby. I'm overjoyed by the amount of community support that came out for this.
So keep in mind what this guy is saying. And I think it's important that you keep it in mind. So
I thought we were going to talk about Larry Bird for a second. I was getting excited. You know, I love Larry Bird.
I feel Larry Bird, the only basketball player in the history of basketball that I would say is better than Larry Bird is Michael Jordan. That's it.
And if you were to ask Michael Jordan who he hated going up against the most, he would say Larry Bird. Larry Bird is a basketball player's basketball player. That's how I think of him. Like they all so they have some serious respect for him. I mean, he would get insulted if they'd put a white guy on him. He actually told coaches, he was like, that's just disrespectful.
If you ask the greatest players that have ever played, and I'm talking about players that played against Larry Bird, against Michael Jordan, against Kobe Bryant, and even against LeBron James.
Bird is the word.
Tell you that if you had Larry Bird in his prime, not when he broke his back and he was a shell of himself in
he
his
also was badass in that regard too. Like that he played, like these guys are such wusses now compared to that.
They all universally said, you give me LeBron in his prime against Bird in his prime, I'm taking Larry Bird. And I would
always.
If anybody has not seen who Larry Bird was at the height of his powers, when he really was the best player in basketball for a 3 to 5 year period, I'm telling you, again, no one truly played and thought the game the way he did. That's what's amazing. And he was also actually a very good defensive player.
And you know what? He's a really nice guy.
Sure. That helps too. And
it's that to me. Well, when players love you and respect you, and people like when they retire your jersey and it's Magic Johnson that comes, like your biggest rival basically, but you're friends. There's so much respect for him. It's because it's not just because he's a great player.
Yes, I agree. But
he's
I would
a good
also,
guy.
And for anybody who still thinks that LeBron James, listen, athletically, yes, LeBron is better than Larry Bird, but that doesn't completely define what a basketball player is. And I would say that if the game is on the line and you need somebody to make a big play, especially a big shot, Who are you going with, LeBron James or Larry Bird?
Larry Bird.
And if you pick LeBron James, please do, because I'll take Larry Bird. So
and he'll tell you exactly where it's going to go.
Yep, no question. And so what I think is interesting here about what this councilman is saying that everybody showed up, and you would think, okay, that's great. But unfortunately, this is, again, another anomaly in politics. We've been to enough town halls and meetings where 5 to 10 people show up. You've got hundreds of people here.
That could never happen here. That would never happen here in South Florida, maybe in Orlando, but not down here.
Well, even if it could happen, the point is, the average person in this country is not involved in politics the way that they need to be. That's the difference. If we lived in a country where thousands of people in a given community were constantly focused on what their elected officials were doing or who they were being bought off by, there's no way that this would work, because it would be a community outreach situation where they would elect people that actually cared. There was a great candidate for mayor of Hollywood, Florida, and she couldn't win because I was one of the few people that actually went around knocking on doors with her. You needed hundreds of people doing it. And that mayor that is there is not only a Zionazi, but he's developer money corrupt to the teeth. And so.
But you digress.
I do digress, because if the people that are as active as they are here, if they were treating him the same way, then we wouldn't have the same problem.
But don't you understand? The reason that most people aren't involved is most people are struggling to live. So there is anybody who's even able to be involved, let alone you also have to have the knowledge of how it even works in some fashion to know where to go. And we're kept purposefully struggling and ignorant at the same time. So that's how come people don't participate.
Support that came out for this.
In a world where we are constantly being divided, everyone showed up tonight with a common goal and we won.
I've been hoping that something would bring us together, and it looks like data centers are.
Power for the people, not for Google. Power for the people, not for Google.
Good.
For more of our coverage on Indiana's data center invasion, check out our latest YouTube video.
Yeah. This is going to be an increasing problem, people. We need to really be aware of what's going on, what's being built around us, and what's happening to other people. If you're not watching Jordan over on Status Coup, you really need to watch there.
Yeah,
you need to make sure you know what's going on in these other places, because it might start with the vulnerable people. That should bother you enough, but it's going to get everywhere. We are going to run out of fresh water. There's going to be a big water problem. And these data centers, for more increasingly complex AI or whatever that is, I know I do not understand it, but I know that whatever we're doing is requiring more and more and more and more energy and more water. So that is happening. It's going to be causing damage to people physically. We're not supposed to be around that. Whatever that is that's producing that, again, I'm not a science person, but it's not good for us. Whatever is coming out of their pipes, that's not good for us. And these centers are now taking so much water in very water vulnerable places. And we need to be very aware of this. And it's very frustrating.